Lenovo's Legion Y700. It's an 8.8-inch size tablet series that has just had another update. This is now the Generation 4 of it, and Gen 4 brings some welcome changes. We've got a larger battery capacity with it. It now has the Snapdragon 8 Elite. They've upped the resolution of the screen, and in this video I'll be running through the performance and what you can expect out of this gaming-orientated and focused tablet with a lot of power thanks to that Snapdragon 8 Elite. My configuration here has 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, but you can get it with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 52 gigabytes of storage. And I did get this model here from GizTop.
So let's look and see what we get. Aside from the tablet here, we've got these two little pouches. You'll see what is normally a SIM tray tool, but that is for our micro SD card slot. They do include a little bit of paperwork, but that's all in Chinese because, of course, this is an import version here. We have a Type-C to Type-C cable, and then on this side, we do get the PPT charger. So if you want to charge it at the fastest possible rates, you do have to use this included charger, but at least we do get it. So the build quality is good. There's nice matte finish to it, black, but it's a fingerprint magnet. Look at the smudges everywhere. So you're going to be constantly breaking out that microfiber cloth, giving it a wipe down to stop it looking like a bit of a mess. So we've got a 50 megapixel camera on the back there. It does not have optical image stabilization, and in video it does not seem to use electronic image stabilization, at least in my testing. Flash there with it, but it does have autofocus, so you can take photos of text and whatnot. Now the battery capacity has increased. It's now 7,600 milliamp hours. We've got 68 wired charging, 68 watts that is, and this is the Type-C port on the side, the best one here, because the other is just USB 2 speeds. This supports video out, and I was really surprised to see that it supported my maximum refresh rate at 4K with my monitor, and that is 138 hertz and full 4K. And it is the best I have seen when it comes to desktop mode. So this is a fantastic tablet for using PC mode and desktop mode. If you like that with Android, really good to see. That's even better than what I was getting with my Tab S9 Ultra. I could not get 4K, not at that refresh rate with Samsung. So this Type-C port right here, this is unfortunately just USB 2 speeds. We've got loudspeakers that are on the top part. So if you're using it in landscape like this, it's great because you're not going to be blocking those speakers. Up the top here, we have our micro SD card slot. I've tested a terabyte. It works in there fine. Microphones, power on, volume up and down buttons made out of metal. The frame, very good. And the overall build is excellent. Here we have that other loudspeaker there on the side. And you can just see here Dolby Vision, Atmos right there, that it does support with this screen. So the screen, I'm familiar with the screen, well, the 8.8 inches I use with the Legion Go. I'm a big fan of Lenovo's products. You could say I'm a bit of a fanboy, but I've got right here, I've got to show it. SteamOS now, the official SteamOS on my Legion Go, and it is really good. But the screen isn't the same apart from the size. They've upped the resolution now, so they decided to tweak that. I don't think that was kind of needed, but this is what we have with this panel. So it is now 3040 by 1904 pixels, the resolution of it, and up to 165 hertz. It's a very good panel, a decent panel. Up to 600 nits is the official brightness, but I am measuring just 457. You can see in direct sunlight, yeah, not so good. A bit of a struggle to make it out, everything. I would not be using this in really bright environments. I just wish it was a bit brighter. If it could pump out, say, 1,000 nits or 1,200, would have been a bit better for me. Now, it is an IPS, and a lot of people are going to be put off by that. And I would have, yes, personally liked to have seen this being an OLED or an AMOLED screen. I think would have been a lot better. Now, in the display options, you have settings here, of course, that you can go along and tweak the refresh rate and the color modes and whatnot. Now, I keep it on the extreme, so that is the full 165, and I do find that it works good. Now, you can put it to 60 or intelligent, and I do wish they had a manual 90 hertz would be good. Now, you can see global handwriting pen. If they're going to be using the stylus on this, which the screen does support, then the refresh rate can go to 120 for that, which is good. You got that option there. Now, the stylus, unfortunately, I do not have. Now, I got this model here from GizTop. There is a link in the description of the video if you want to pick one up. Import, so you're not going to have the EU charger and whatnot, and you could have taxes when it does arrive. I had to pay FedEx a little bit for this particular model. 85 euros in taxes I did have to pay with this one. So display is good, but with the IPS you can see a little bit of shadows on the very corners. The bezels aren't too bad, and I believe that, well, I think that a tablet must have a bit of bezel. You can't make these too slim, and it's good that we do have the left and right if you're holding it in a landscape like that. So the camera right here, this is 8 megapixels, supports 1080p video, and I'll show you later on, the camera's not good in this tablet. They are one of the big downsides, but not normally too much of an issue there. So the UI, that is their own UI. This is running Android 15, and I'll get a little bit more into some details about that now. It's called ZUXOS, the skin that is on this, and it is okay. I will say it's a bit of a downside to the tablet. I wish that it was a little bit more like stock Android. I mean, it's okay. You've got a few features in it, and the performance in general has been very good, and I can confirm that I'm getting updates. You can see that I've got Netflix and Prime Video on there. I've installed them. They're all working. Everything seems to be working, and that is the main part there. Now, because I did get this from Giztop, they have debloated this for me, and I think they do that for every one of the units. So there's only these 2 system files that are in Chinese. You've got their like AI agent type thing and some other search thing, and Leaf File, which is their file manager, is all in Chinese. I haven't figured out how to actually switch that into English, which is a minor inconvenience, and I would have liked to have seen a stock gallery application, but that is sadly gone, so I just use Google Photos instead. So Giztop does that, which is good. We're not going to have all that bloat, because trust me, this would have a lot to start with all the Chinese stuff on there. So you can see Android 15, I've got 12 gigabytes and the 256 gigabytes of storage, which you can expand with that micro SD card slot at the top. So that's good. And if you want 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512, there is that model, which is the top end model there with it. And of course the Snapdragon 8 Elite that I talked about there in the intro. Sadly, no hardware GPS is built into this. There's a gyro, we've got accelerometer, of course, and you can see with the compass as well. That's working, but no hardware GPS, which would have made this nice for a little boaty navigation kind of tablet, or people that wanted to use it maybe in their car and try and set up Android Auto. That probably would be a bit of a problem. This being, of course, a Chinese version here, doesn't have Android Auto with it. So Antutu score. Snapdragon 8 Elite, very good for a tablet, and the performance I was expecting to be around this kind of figure. I thought maybe a little more because it is a bit larger, being a tablet, should be able to dissipate heat better. Internal storage, blazing fast. I mean, look at that. Random access, the writes there, wow, super good. That's one of the highest I've ever seen there, and the sequential reads very good there too as well, and the writes and random. So really fast storage that they are using in this Lenovo, so it's UFS 4.1. So does it throttle? It does. Snapdragon 8 Elite we know is a hot chipset, but this throttling performance is very good. So most phones that I review with this chipset will throttle down to 55-60%. You lose half the performance after around about the 6-minute mark. And it starts to drop down, you can see steadily. It does get warm, but it's not crazy hot. So we're losing around about 25, just under 25%. Not bad at all. Even fan-cooled gaming phones, like the Red Magic phones, they will get that kind of figure, and they're using a little fan in there. So the cooling in this is very good. They've beefed that up for this particular model here, the Gen 4. So we can see here that it got to 42 degrees, the temperature internally. And I have noticed that on the outside, it will get up to 40, 41, even up to 43. So it gets warm, but it doesn't get like the Red Magic gaming phones or some of the Xiaomi flagships that used to get up to 52, 53 degrees and even throw errors overheating. So that is one positive there out of that. So all up, the performance is very good, and I'll show you with gaming. But let's just first get onto a little other things that we can do with this tablet, like multitasking. So as I pointed out, Netflix is working, performance is really good, and I'll show you that Play Store. They already installed that Giztop for me, all working really well. Now, when you want to multitask, tap those three little dots there. You can do the split screen either side, and you can go and select which apps you want. Now, if you want to swap it over, you just simply double tap, and it's pretty straightforward. You've got your floating apps too as well, so you decide that, no, I want to have one app here, the other over here, run Netflix there in the background. You can go and do that, and I'll just quickly select there Chrome. So I have Chrome running, and you can have the floating windows, the split screen. So you can do a bit of multitasking, but at 8.8 inches, it's not as enjoyable, at least not for me, as it is with large, say 14-inch size tablets or tablets that are over 11 inches, I find is a little bit better for that multitasking, but it's good to have it. And as long as you're not running games, the performance of the split screen won't really be affected. It'll still be super smooth. And speaking of super smooth, that's probably the best way to describe the UI. It has been really fast for me and no issues. I've enabled the apps drawer here. I haven't seen any bugs yet, which is good. And if you like your eBooks, so just tap and go into what we're looking at here was just a PDF file. And the performance of that, as expected, is really quick. Looks great on the screen. And as an ebook reader, I think the screen definitely has that resolution. It's super sharp, and you're able to see that text really well, which is great. And I'll just go into, this is a PDF, so let's get out of that, and I will just jump into here a bit of a proper ebook, and you can see that looks good, and it's going to be great in your eyes. You can invert the text too as well, so you can have the text being white, the background black, if you wanted to do so. You've got your eye care modes and all of that too as well. Just here in YouTube and looking at one of my own videos now, everything is working fine. It looks good, and you can go along and set that quality up to with 1080p, the higher pitch quality. And I find that it's just at 1080p straight away. I don't need to wait for it to cache or anything like that. The wireless does seem to be very quick, which is good, and skipping ahead, it seems to load in without any problems. Now, what about the haptics? The haptics are good. Nice little strong pulses that we do get from the Y700 Gen 4 here. And those speakers, because of their location being here and here, I do think that was a very wise idea from them. So when you're holding it like this, especially gaming, you're not going to be blocking those speakers. So what I do now is turn this volume up to 100%, and we'll have a listen to what they sound like. They're quite good speakers for an 8.8-inch tablet.
Somebody save me from myself. I'm off for the meds and it might get hideous. Why so serious?
Very loud, some bass to them, and I've noticed there is a hint of distortion at 100% volume, so I really should have run that at about 90%. Now notice the top and bottom borders, because the screen is 16:10 aspect ratio. There is that border top and bottom, which makes it look like a real old tablet, like an old school tablet that has these super large bezels there. But as soon as I get out of the 16:9 contact, you can see there now that they are top and bottom, quite slim there. Now, it is a gaming tablet, and running Genshin Impact on the highest possible settings, it runs at 60 frames per second, but after about the 9-minute mark, you sometimes see some dips into the mid-40s, which I see now with a lot of Snapdragon 8 Elite phones. So even though this game and the chipsets are, more optimized, it still does end up throttling a little bit, and the kind of throttling I'm getting is what you'd see out of phones, but a little bit better, not as bad as some of the Snapdragon 8 Elite phones out there that I have tested, that even the actively cooled ones like the Red Magic phones, this is faring about the same there, which is good. Now you can bring up this little widget here, which is pretty cool. So you can see your frame rate, you can see the temperatures, and what the GPU and the CPU clocks are doing if you happen to like that sort of thing. So you just swipe here from the side, you can put it into the performance mode. I tend to keep it in balanced. And overall, a great gaming experience. And I think the size, 8.8 inches, it just makes gaming more comfortable than those larger tablets. Large tablets, they can be a bit tiresome holding them for long extended periods, like hours on end. You don't want to do that. But with 8.8 inches, I find it's a perfect kind of gaming size. And that's why I want to see more 8.8-inch tablets. What about those cameras? So the Legion Y700 Gen 4 here does have an 8 megapixel front-facing camera, and that does give us 1080p video, but as you can see, it does not have electronic image stabilization. And for a tablet, is that a big issue? I don't really think so. I think most people would probably be using their phone anyway. And we have 4K video with the rear 50 megapixel camera, and the video quality, I've noticed that sometimes the white balance can be off, quite a bit off, and it's looking a bit shaky. Does not seem to have electronic image stabilization at all. It does have autofocus at least, but I think most people would just use their phone. You wouldn't really be shooting video with this tablet, but you got that option. It's good to have the cameras, of course, for things like Skype, video chat, and WhatsApp that you can use.
All up, if you're after really good performance for your games and you like the 8.8-inch size, I personally do, I really like it. I think it's perfect for gaming, and it's good to see that brands are still bringing us tablets at this particular size. I will have one more in a couple of weeks, and that is another gaming-orientated tablet. I like the fact that the battery life has been improved on it, but it's not much compared to the previous models. You're still looking at around about 6.5 hours of screen on time. Now, if you're gaming, it's around 3.5 to 4 hours, depending on if you set the balanced or performance modes there with your games. I don't think too many people will probably use Eco because you want the Snapdragon 8 Elite performance. So it's really fast, quick and snappy. The screen 165 Hz. The improved resolution, I didn't think we really needed that, me personally. I think we could have still had a 1600p screen, would have been perfectly fine. Brightness is okay. Now they say it's 600 nits, and I'm measuring just over 450, which is fine indoors. Outdoors, as I showed you, you struggled a little to see it. That's one of the downsides to it. The other is the UI, okay. I don't think it's too bad, Lenovo's UI. It's all right, but it isn't the best out there, I'll certainly say that. And the bottom Type-C port is only USB 2 speeds, but at least we have the full fast one on the side. And we don't have a 3.5mm headphone jack. It's not bothering me that much this time because we have the two Type-C ports. So you can plug in a Type-C adapter to 3.5 and just use it that way. You can still charge then. What has really impressed me with the Y700 Gen 4 is that we have that desktop mode, and it's fantastic to get 4K at 138 Hz. It's, well, unheard of really, because none of the other tech that I have can do that. Normally it'd be like 1440p resolution, or the refresh rates won't be so high. So if you really like desktop mode, then you've got it with this particular model, and you can trigger the PC mode 2 as well with this. You can just go and turn that on, and you can use it on the screen itself without having to have an external display connected to it, which is also very handy to have. Now, charge time, you're looking at just under 1 hour if you use the included charger. It does support power delivery, and I noticed that when my power delivery charges, it's a lot longer to get to 100%. It will take approximately an hour and a half. So it's a little slower there. You have to carry around their charger if you want the really quick charging rates, which I think, okay, around just under an hour isn't too bad for a tablet such as this. So that is the Lenovo Y700, the 4th gen of it. Thank you so much for watching this review, and stay tuned for more tablet reviews because I will have another gaming tablet as mentioned, and another mid-range kind of tablet coming from TechTablets, which is 12 off the top of my head, 12.1 inches, I think. So I'm trying to bring more tablet content. I know some of you out there do want more.